you know how last time we talked about the fact that the Gita promotes genocide? There were a lot of Hindus in the live chat predictably coming out and saying, like, I just don't understand the Gita, and this is so, I'm so uneducated, I'm so ignorant about the verses and stuff. But I have at some point, like I thought, maybe I'm not reading it properly, and I brought like Hindus and ex-Hindus, and we went over this over and over again, okay, with people that are really know the scripture, okay, and people that weren't like biased, okay, and it says what I'm saying it is. It's like we could go over this with each other, Harris, at some point, okay?
Oh yeah,
like
absolutely.
I have like people think like because of my background, the one thing they do with the Hindu scripture is that they try to make it seem like if you don't come from a Hindu culture, it's just so beyond your understanding.
Yeah.
Like your Abrahamic, you can't even break out of it. Like you just have to trust people that are within the Hindu culture because your mind is so limited and you are so boxed in with the view of the world that is based on Abrahamic view that you can't even comprehend, and unless you come up with the same conclusions that they have. If you haven't, it just means that you just can't. Like your brain is too limited to even comprehend what the scripture is saying, right? And no matter how much you study it, if your conclusion is not the same as theirs, then you haven't studied enough, and you have to study it more until you agree with them. It's so similar again to what Muslims say to us when we study the Quran, right?
They're more similar. Yeah, they're very similar to Muslims.
But the problem is that when you read the scripture, it's not just me that says these things, okay? Like the Gita itself clarifies what it's saying. Like if there was any ambiguity about what it's trying to tell you, it multiple times clarifies that it's saying what I'm telling you it is, okay? This is a book that has been designed to justify genocide for you, okay? Like we could go through it, we could go through this together. Let's do a stream on it.
We should have a look at this one. I'm going to show you this. I don't know why this Firefox doesn't actually allow me go tab by tab.
These are guys, by the way, for people who say that I'm just like a secret Muslim and I come from a Muslim background, and that's why I'm saying that about Gita. These are your own fellow people with the Hindu background, okay?
Yeah.
Look, how do you pronounce this name? You can read these names better than
I. It's called Shri Joanna.
Okay. So guys, these are people from your own subcontinent, okay? He's saying it very obviously advocates for violence. It, in fact, calls it a duty of the warrior caste, okay? This is the entirety of the message of Gita comes down to you following your dharma and not to use your own internal compass as a moral judgment. So whatever you think it's moral, this is the Gita as a story is what Abraham's story is to the Abrahamic religion. The Gita is to Hinduism. So the story of Abraham, it teaches the Jews, the Christians, and the Muslims that things that you think instinctual, like based on instinct, that you think are wrong, right? Like killing a child, killing your own son, you feel internally that this is wrong. You should put away that judgment, okay? Because morality comes from Yahweh or Allah. Your judgment does not count. Even things that seem nonsensical when it comes to morality, you don't understand. God understands. Trust God. That's the point of Abraham's story. And the point of Gita is very similar. You think you're Arjun, you think like, these are my family. I want peace. I don't want to kill my own family. Why should we? Let's call off the war, guys. Let's go for peace instead of war. People think Hinduism teaches you to go for peace instead of war. The Gita tells you that the person in the story that thinks that you should go for peace instead of war, that's the guy on the wrong side. God comes himself and says, like, you're wrong. Your duty is to kill. It doesn't matter that they're your family. It doesn't even matter if they're innocent or not. You have to follow your duty. War is the way because you are a warrior and you follow your dharma. Don't trust your own moral judgment, whatever internal compass you have. Trust dharma. trust your position in society, your position in your caste, and follow it. And your dharma is to go stabby on people. That's your dharma. That's what you do. Okay? So you trust Yahweh, you trust Allah, you don't trust yourself, you don't trust your own moral judgment. That's what Abraham's story tells you. Gita tells you you trust dharma. You don't trust your own judgment, you trust dharma, you follow dharma. You obey, you follow. This is what fascism is, right? Because fascism is I follow orders. I don't judge. I just follow orders. This is what the Nuremberg trials showed us, right? And this is what we in the modern society have decided that we don't accept that. Because in the Nuremberg trials, when people were carrying out genocide, their excuse at the court was, I was just following orders. And the modern world decided that doesn't excuse anything. You did this, you're guilty, okay? So just like we don't accept that when it comes to for people who are following fascist dictators, we shouldn't also accept that when people are following Yahweh, Allah, or Dharma. Because the Gita is that's what Gita is telling you. Just follow orders. Don't question anything. That's your position. That's what you do. That's what Gita is teaching you. Anyways,
I wanted to show you the video that we spoke about last week about the Shivalingam story, which was basically news to me. So it got nearly 3,000 views, and I got about 85% likes, but 15% dislikes, which is quite higher than what I normally get because most of the time I was talking about Islam. So, but again, the good thing is that we've got 85% likes, so 15% dislikes. So if you take away the 10%, that's okay. We've got some radical Hindus there who can't tolerate any criticism on their religion. And they're always like all these Muslims that come around and say the same thing as you said. Oh, you don't understand Hinduism. So I just don't understand. Like, I mean, this mindset that says that Hindus debate with each other to know the truth. Okay, so if we're debating with you and you want us to be like Hindus as well, then why do you get upset? I can just laugh on their understanding. Okay, yeah, you can just laugh, and that's all you can do because you actually don't understand anything either about Hinduism. Somebody just left a comment that Armin actually knows more about Hinduism than 90% of Hindus. It's very likely. It's very likely. I can safely say I know more about Islam than 90% of Muslims. Hands down. There's no arrogance in that. I genuinely know. I don't know everything about Islam, but I definitely know more about Islam than 90% of Muslims. You can test me anytime you want. Anyway, so yeah, but most of them were actually good. They don't have any references. They're just laughing. So did you? Yeah, you should have given some. You know, these guys, when you show them references as well, like we did right here. I was showing these references. Where you go? Not this one. Sorry, I think there's the other video where I shared the Hindu scriptures. Like I think I showed about 6 scriptures, and then we said we're going to talk about it even more. But under that one, that's going to go live soon. But under that one, they're going to say the same thing. They're going to say, nope, we don't. These guys are not. You know, we don't agree with these scriptures, or the translations are dodgy, etc., whatever.
Yeah, I did an entire stream at this, and we go line by line with references through the Gita. Let me see what the name of the video was. I could give you a reference, by the way.
Yeah,
it's called. I think it's called "Is Hinduism the Most Violent Religion?"
Yeah, I think I saw that one.
Yeah,
I think I watched that one. Yeah,
it's called "Is Hinduism the Most Violent Religion?" It's a 2.5-hour stream if you're interested.
How many? Share the screen, and how many views and comments did you get? I bet a lot of them would be like, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. The translations are not right. Hindus don't follow any scripture. Blah blah blah." But the funny thing is, the common denominator amongst these Hindu religionists is the fact that they say that, "Oh, we're proud of our ancestors." So my point is, if you disown these books, fair enough. I give you credit that you are willing to disown these books. But why are you asking us to be proud of your ancestors when your ancestors wrote these pathetic books? Not everything that they wrote is pathetic, but what they did write. So, you can't just throw away the bad and just say, hey, look at us, how amazing we were, blah, blah, blah. You got to learn to take both the good and the bad at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, guys, go check this out, because a stream like this doesn't get that much attention because I go through line by line the Gita. People are like, oh, why did you study the Gita yourself instead of trusting other people? Why didn't you study? And then when you actually go through line by line and study it, because that's what I did. They're like, yeah, and like, well, I mean, the main parts
problematic.
Well, I mean, I went through multiple chapters, right? But basically, for you to get the entirety, the part of the story of where Krishna is telling Arjuna why he should be doing the killings, right? So, but I go through all those chapters line by line and look at the translations, and sometimes look at the origins of the words, and I have ex-Hindus and Hindus in the live chat checking with them if the translation is accurate or not, right? So I do look at the Sanskrit words, and then every time I'm skeptical about something meaning something or not, because it seems like it's too barbaric to mean that, we keep reading forward, and within context, it's very obvious that it actually does mean what we thought it meant, right? So if you wanted to, so we look at the original Sanskrit. We had Hindus and ex-Hindus in the live chat. We took everything in context. So this is like, people tell us like, oh, if you don't study it this way, you wouldn't understand. So we did study it that way, and the people that keep telling us that you don't study the Gita, they were nowhere to be found. All right. So like we're so like, oh, you haven't studied it, so you don't know what you're talking about. Like, okay, we are, like, this is a two and a half, study that transparently in front of everybody, a two and a half hour stream, right? So what do you have to say now? Like, again, always like changing the goalposts every time you do what they claim you would.
Oh yeah.
To have your questions answered on the next live stream, become my patron today. You can do so with as little as $1 a month. Link in the description below.